Hello guys, welcome.
Hi.
Today
Hi,
we're going to be watching the
sisters.
new Spider-Man No Way Home on Cineworld.
On Cineworld, we're not sponsored by the
I
way.
just tripped over.
Here we go, lads. Is it going to be good? Hopefully.
3 hours later.
Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another video. Now, for those of you who usually watch this channel, I apologise. Today's video is not, in fact, about Doctor Who. We're putting Doctor Who to the side today to discuss what is probably the biggest theatrical release since Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. I want to make it clear this is a one-off. I always talk about Doctor Who on this channel, so don't run away and unsubscribe. Please stick around. This is just me sharing my thoughts on Spider-Man. If you do want to hear me talk about other media, I do usually post on this channel, the Joe Street channel. That's where I discuss all other forms of media that aren't Doctor Who, so go and subscribe to that. I also am going to preface, this is my last prefacing thing, this is full of spoilers. I am going to be talking full spoilers in this review, so if you do not want any spoilers, click off the video now. Just get out of here. Go on, or I'm going to put some dirt in your eye. That was my Tobey Maguire impression. As you can see, I am a fully trained Spider-Man. Anyway, first things first, what did I think just generally overall? I've got to say, absolutely amazing film. Possibly my favourite Spider-Man film there, like, out of all of them that have been released. Strongly coming up against Spider-Man 2, the original from the Sam Raimi trilogy, because it's just such a good film. But this one might be edging its way into becoming my favourite. There's so much going on in this film, I don't know where to start, but it's all so much in a really, really good way. This is probably somewhat controversial, but I probably would say that my favourite iteration of the Spider-Man character and his friends and whatnot is the Tom Holland version, which, yeah, it's great to see them interact, though. I'm not the biggest fan of the Andrew Garfield stuff. His villains are a bit naff. He's a brilliant actor, don't get me wrong, but I never thought his Spider-Man films were that good. Tobey Maguire's, on the other hand, absolute classics. Genuinely love the Tobey Maguire films. And yeah, I'd say those are the two best parts of the movie, are the stuff from the Tobey films and the stuff from the, like, current Tom Holland films. Gotta say, best villain, Green Goblin and Doc Ock, there's two of them. I cannot decide which one's better out of the two of them. They are both just absolutely brilliant. I'm going to start discussing the characters first. Like, that's where I'm going to root this review, so it's not just a ramble. The two villains that are absolutely perfect, Doc Ock and Green Goblin. Tom Holland as Spider-Man, once again, every film, every appearance he makes, it gets better and better and better. In this film, Tom Holland has practically no flaws at all. Like, the whole Iron Boy Jr. complaint is even referenced early on in the film, when someone, I think the Daily Bugle, there's a post of like, Iron Boy Jr., blah, 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 something like that, taking the mick out of the online criticism, which I thought was quite good. MJ in this film, I'm just going to drop it in here, going to say it, MJ in this film with Tom Holland is my favourite Spider-Man romance. So much better than all the others, and yes, I know there's a cult following for Andrew and Emma Stone. Pales in comparison to this, in my humble opinion. I also really like Ned. He's just a really welcome presence. I mean, far better than the Harry Osborns of the other trilogies. I mean, that's the closest character you can relate him to, I'd say. Other villains in the film, Electro was dealt so much better in this film. So much better. The performance from Jamie Foxx has always been brilliant, but the writing and everything really tended to his character this time. Brilliant there. The Lizard is just as boring and irrelevant as he always was, in the politest way possible. I don't care for him, but it's nice he's there. I'd rather have him there than not have him there. That's the best I could say about him. Sandman, yeah, he's solid.
Well, actually, he himself is not solid, but he's written solidly.
Kind of like the Lizard in that I don't particularly, like, he's cool, sure, doesn't do much, but he sure is there. And Happy Hogan, once again, same as ever, really good. Aunt May. I'm not going to talk about the obvious there, but performance, outstanding. Once again, her best performance in the MCU. But yeah, I am. Now, you know what? I'm just going to go straight in. Aunt May's death genuinely almost made me tear up. If you know me in person, you know that I don't really get emotional at media. I mean, I love it, I get excited, I get happy, I enjoy watching it, but I don't, like, nothing makes me cry. This film, about 2 or 3 times, there were genuinely distinct moments where I was trying to hold back emotion, because it was just, when she died, it was so well done, and I think it wipes out the complaint of, the MCU Spider-Man doesn't have an Uncle Ben death. He doesn't need one. Aunt May died right in front of him. And then when the other Spider-Men go and comfort Tom Holland, absolute highlight of the film. It was so well done. And the whole arc of the Green Goblin, like him trying to get better, like the moment I saw him and Aunt May in that soup kitchen thing, I was like, oh God, please don't kill her. And Green Goblin ends up being the one to kill Aunt May, and then that plot thread is continued right into the end of the movie, where you get the confrontation between Tom Holland and the Green Goblin, and he's fully punching him. It's like, what I've always criticised with Marvel films is that there's so much CGI, like action and ridiculousness flying around, you never get to see proper brutal action. And what the Sam Raimi films did brilliantly was Spider-Man would get blood everywhere, his suit would rip, he'd get whacked and punched and punched and punched, and then you had the sort of reverse of that with Tom Holland fully, brutally punching this man in the face, and it was so well done. Tom Holland's performance was heartbreaking, him saying goodbye to MJ, as I said, best romance in the film, and I love that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man jumped in and stopped Tom Holland from killing the Goblin, and it just... that moment of the film, that's probably my favourite plot thread throughout Tom Holland's character's journey. Like, it's so emotional and just brilliantly performed. The next amazing plot thread, amazing Spider-Man, is Doc Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius, Dr. Octopus, whatever you want to call him. His journey throughout the film is really good. Like, it starts with the whole bridge stuff where he is fully angry, then you get the slow realisation of, oh, this is some multiversal stuff, and then you get the redemption towards the end, and I loved that, like, the motivation for having all of these villains is, like, trying to make them better. Spider-Man is trying to save them, trying to help them, and it wasn't some just sort of generic Marvel, we'll punch the bad guy and then they'll die and we've won, which I absolutely hate. It's why, like, once again, this is probably controversial, but I don't care for the Captain America films at all. They somewhat do my head in with the whole just punch, look at me, big strong man. This was properly an ethical, moral debate, because both Doctor Strange and Spider-Man had very valid points, like Doctor Strange saying, send them back. It's not our fault that they're dying. We didn't do that. It's other universes. To save the grand scale of things, we've got to let them die. But then Tom Holland also reluctantly, along with his Aunt May, saying, no, we need to help them, better them as people, and save them. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant plot and I love it, but it does open up questions, kind of like Endgame did, in the sense of, what in the hell does that mean for the other movies? Because if Doc Ock turned good and gets put back in the Raimi-verse before he dies, then his sacrifice can't happen because he's already good. And then why is Tobey Maguire like 50 and Doc Ock is from when Tobey was a young Spider-Man? It doesn't really need answering, and it's just so well written that I don't care, quite frankly. But there are a lot of like mini plot holes like that. That is the one sort of criticism. But then I feel like if they did explain it, it would just get a bit like, we don't care, just show us more cool Spider-Man visuals. And that was the thing as well, the CGI in this movie, best Marvel's ever been. As I said earlier, the fighting felt really grounded. It wasn't this like clustered mess of visuals and lens flares and CG everywhere. It felt very real, especially like when Spider-Man was punching the Goblin through the building, and then they were, action was brilliant. Doc Ock, his arc, amazing. Happy in this film. I thought the comedy was pretty good. We got a cameo from, I think, is his name Murdoch? Matt Murdoch or something? I almost said Rupert Murdoch, but I'm pretty sure that's the guy that owns like the Sun newspaper and Fox network. So it's not Rupert Murdoch, but I think it's Matt Murdoch, the blind guy Daredevil. I've never watched it, but I know people who have, and people were in the cinema were audibly like, when he came up on screen, and he has superpowers because he grabbed the brick like that when it flew through the thing. So yeah, I mean, he seems like a cool character. Don't know him, but yeah, that's the thing as well. The end credit scene. I haven't actually watched Venom, so I was able to follow because I knew, like, oh, Tom Hardy plays Venom, etc. But yeah, I don't know. The good thing is, though, Tom Hardy isn't having a movie with Tom Holland. He's just left some of that symbiote in their universe, which is obviously setting up for the next upcoming Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy. I also thought they were quite, like, putting in a lot of little hints to, like, Miles Morales coming back, because that dialogue between Electro and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, where he was talking about, oh, I wish there was a black Spider-Man, there's got to be a black Spider-Man out there. Miles Morales is probably going to come up in the next trilogy. Maybe after the next trilogy, like, Holland will have 6 films and then pass it on to a new Miles Morales character. We know that Miles Morales exists in that universe anyway, because, like, in Homecoming, we have his uncle in, like, the cast, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, we know that's happening. One minor negative I'd say about the film was I didn't think you didn't have the hype moment of Andrew and Toby coming in. Obviously there's hype and shock, wow, there in the audience anyway, because the characters are opening up and appearing on screen. But you didn't have, like, a Portals moment from Endgame where it's like, oh my god, yeah, they're here to save the day. Like, as Andrew Garfield's character mentions, Tobey Maguire rocks up looking like a street pastor. Like, it just sort of, yeah, and I don't know how you'd really get around that. As I say, that's more just my childish viewer instinct going, I want to see the cool Spider-Man. But yeah, writing-wise, no problem with it. Really, really cool. I'm glad that they finally gave MJ and Ned proper stuff to do. It wasn't just like little, oh, they're here, they're two-dimensional characters, this is the love interest and this is the silly best friend. They were both there for proper reasons. Ned's mum was also very, very funny. I've realised I haven't talked much about Doctor Strange in this video, because there's not too much to say. He is just Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, which, yeah, always a welcome presence. Really enjoyed him in his solo film, in Infinity War, and briefly in Endgame. He's a good character, and I can't lie, I don't particularly get the hype for Multiverse of Madness. Like, I was expecting to be a lot more hyped, especially when the trailer popped up, but I didn't really, like, sure, the trailer was cool. Wasn't anything amazing, it was just solid, like, cool. But speaking of amazing, I did really enjoy the little joke where, like, it was so on the nose but so brilliant, and it was just like the Sam Raimi sort of dialogue, the on the nose ridiculousness, where Tobey Maguire kept saying, you know what, to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, you are amazing. And I was expecting him to look down the barrel of the camera and go, the amazing Spider-Man, wink wink. Speaking of amazing Spider-Man, the other moment where I nearly teared up was when Andrew saves MJ's life, because he couldn't do it for his own, he couldn't do it for Gwen. Gwen fell and died. Our MJ, played by Zendaya, falls off the building. Tom Holland can't save her in time because of the Goblin. The parallels are there, but luckily Andrew was just in time to sweep her off her feet and save her. And Andrew Garfield's acting is just phenomenal. Genuinely outstanding. I'm trying to think other moments. When Norman Osborn, when he was in the cage and he said, you know, I'm something of a scientist myself. Me and my mates in the cinema, we all just turned and looked at each other and were like, yes, the memes. The script is one of the most solid things about this movie, I'd say. It doesn't feel like, studio interference, doesn't feel like it's been messed about, doesn't feel like, we're living in Iron Man's shadow. It does just completely feel this is a, like, love letter to Spider-Man and Spider-Man fans. Genuinely, really, really, really good. Like, I think the only criticisms I have, as I say, they're very minor things. There's one more critique I can kind of think of, in that it's not a happy sort of, obviously it doesn't have to be a happy film, but it doesn't feel, I didn't leave feeling fully content. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it, but there's still that air of everyone's forgotten who Spider-Man is. And obviously we're going to explore that in the next trilogy, but it's just, give the man a happy ending. He's just watched his aunt die, now the love of his life can't remember who he is. And it just, even that, like the character arcs are so good, because Tom Holland wants to tell Zendaya, he wants to say, look, it's me, Peter, I love you, but then he sees that she's still got the bandage on her head, because she was like hit because she was helping him fight the goblin and whatnot. And it's just, it's so emotional. Definitely the best and most emotional Spider-Man film there has ever been. As I say, Spider-Man 2, probably somewhat better in terms of, it has definitely better action. The action in this is cool, don't get me wrong, but the action in that one, yeah, I don't think it'll ever be beaten. Overall, I'd give the film, I'm going to go 9 out of 10. I don't want to say 10 out of 10, because as I say, there are a few tiny little gripes, but a solid 9 out of 10. Maybe even 9.5, if I'm feeling generous. I mean, genuinely really, really enjoyed it. No sense of underwhelming stuff, which, this is the thing with Marvel, and this is why I'm making this review on the main channel, because I have a lot to say on it, as you can hear throughout this video. But usually with Marvel, I feel somewhat underwhelmed. Infinity War, no underwhelming. Endgame, it was like, yeah, it was good. Yeah. And then you have, like, all the Marvel set. WandaVision ended on such a crap note. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was boring. Loki was really good, but it ended just like, yeah, okay. Hawkeye, I haven't watched today's episode, so I haven't seen episode 5 as of recording this, but so far it has just been, yeah, it's Marvel, innit? It's alright. And like, a load of, like, the Avengers films usually are just like, yeah, there's a good CGI battle, whereas this one, properly, as I say, emotional, engaging, investing me all the way throughout. I am going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. You know what? It's a good day. 9.5 out of 10. Almost perfect movie. Definitely the movie of the year. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. I mean, I've spoiled the entire thing for you there. Like, lol, Aunt May dies and get wrecked. But yeah, genuinely brilliant. No real complaints. Fantastic cinema experience. Go and watch it. Oh, can't wait for more. Thank you, Marvel, thank you. Anyway, that does bring us to the end of today's video. As ever, if you did enjoy, please do remember to go and like, comment, subscribe, etc, etc. All of the links to other things are in the description. If you want to go and follow my channel that isn't just talking about Doctor Who, that's in there too. If you're only interested in Doctor Who, thank you for watching to the end of the video, but don't unsubscribe because I am still making Doctor Who content. Yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.